Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flex here with a review for Kiki's Delivery Service. This is part of my ongoing dissection of the Studio Ghibli lineup. This time we're tackling Hayao Miyazaki's follow-up to My Neighbor Totoro. And like that film, this is also kind of a vibes piece, but it works so well because it hits people at multiple different points in their life. I'll explain. The first time I saw this film was in my junior year of high school. And I don't know why, but there was something about this relatively simplistic story that didn't follow the traditional structure of a traditional movie that really hit me. And Kiki herself was somebody that I found myself relating to, though I couldn't put into words as to why. I would later figure out what that was, but the key to this film is not the, antagonist she must overcome. This film doesn't concern itself with that. Similar to My Neighbor Totoro, it doesn't have traditional story structure in the way that we normally think of it. Her biggest obstacle to overcome is burnout. And I think that's why this movie hits so hard for so many people. I am in a profession where I ask people all the time, what's your favorite movie? And you would be shocked how many times I hear Kiki's Delivery Service. Of all the Ghibli films, that's the one I hear the most. And I think that's the key to why. It hits people at many different points within their life. I just described the first time I saw it. The reason I connected to her so much is because junior year of high school is the most homework intensive. And I was suffering just that, burnout. And I revisited the film several years later when I was kind of experiencing the same thing from college. This is something that I've experienced through the act of creation. I like to create, I like to write stories, I like to make movies and stuff like that. And I watched this movie once while I was in the process of making many different short films kind of at once, and just feeling like, what do I guide my attention to? And it was kind of an overwhelming experience, so much so that you just kind of shut down. This film immerses you in the burnout of it all. And though there's nothing overtly stated, just feeling that connection that somebody else is going through something similar to what you are going through is unbelievably therapeutic in a strange sense, especially since it ends so well for Kiki. Depending on which version you see, there are aspects of her life that she just can't get back after her burnout. It's just not part of her life anymore. And yet she's able to carry on and still be successful and just as powerful of an individual as she was before. And I think that's really kind of strong and powerful message. That said, well, we're talking about the two different versions. There's a Disney version that was released in the late 90s that has a little bit more of a comedic skew. It has really solid dubbing with Kirsten Dunst and Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman was able to ad-lib certain things that I know that Miyazaki himself would be very abhorrent of, but it worked for me. That's the first version I saw, and I think in a lot of senses that's my favorite version of the film, though I do like his original intent of the cat is not something that she can understand after her burnout. But getting back to the burnout of it all, this is the film that I think best illustrates what burnout feels like. There's two that I saw the very same year that have been wholly encapsulating of what it is to experience burnout better than anything I've ever seen. And that is Kiki's Delivery Service and Spider-Man 2. And if you notice, Spider-Man 2's story structure is actually kind of similar to this, except he has a big villain he must face. But Doc Ock is just the showy villain. The real villain is his own internal struggle with whether or not to be Superman, and the burnout that comes with that burden. And I think both films act as a great pairing. I've actually done little movie watches with friends where I did in fact pair these two movies together. You're in for a delightful treat if you watch those. They're both exceptionally good. But yeah, this one is also one of my favorite Ghibli films. I love the character of Kiki. I love the aesthetic. I love the suggestion that they live in a world with magic that people accept and acknowledge and coexist with. And as a father now, the opening 5 minutes are really, really strong, because I know what it's like to be have plans with your kid, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what, today I'm going to be a grown-up and I'm going to do my own thing, and it's time for me to go off in the world and hang out with a friend, and it's just like, what do you mean? I thought we were friends. That opening little segment is really neat. The influence this film has too. The witch doesn't look witchy. Sure, she rides a broomstick. This is very much evocative of the Harry Potter idea of witchcraft and wizardry, where there's robes, there's the broomstick, but they don't have exaggerated facial features. I mean, the villains in Harry Potter do, but I also saw this when I first started getting into Harry Potter, so this was kind of like a weird magical movie that hit me in multiple different areas and helped cement different interests. In fact, I think I saw this before I started reading those Harry Potter books, and it was one of the things that propelled me into that area of interest as well. The influence it has on other Ghibli or non-Ghibli works seems evident. Obviously, there's Mary and the Witch's Flower, which the illustration of that witch, of Mary or whatever, is almost identical to the witch that Kiki passes in the beginning of this film, as she's zipping off trying to find wherever town she's going to set herself in, and also similar to My Neighbor Totoro. Sorry, this is getting a little unfocused. Similar to My Neighbor Totoro, you seem to live in a pre-existing time, almost right after World War II time, but this looks like an Italian or a very European village, but uncorrupted by war or the effects of it. This is kind of continuing on with what My Neighbor Totoro seemed to do, where it also had a period piece that showed you an untouched Japan. He's keeping those fantasy fables alive in this alternate reality where there's just something a little bit magical, something a little bit heightened and elevated that's a little more pure than the world that we are immersed with, like Grave of the Fireflies that I reviewed last week. But Kiki's Delivery Service is a genuinely fantastic film. I love the character of Kiki. I enjoy the humor of the cat, especially in the original Disney one that most, I think, people would scoff at because we aren't allowed to laugh at humor anymore in present society. I imagine most, people under the age of me prefer the original cut because it excises most of the comedy. But this is a good film. It is an easy 4-star film and one of my 5 favorite Studio Ghibli works overall. It's one that I revisit whenever I'm feeling just a little bit overwhelmed and just a little bit burnt out. Because, as I said earlier, it's something that hits at multiple different points in your life. And just finding somebody else, even if it's a fictional wizard or witch, helps to get through the day knowing that you can get through it and there is an end to it all, which is different from how the book ends, I understand. That is a little more, episodic in nature. I plan on reading that. I've never actually read it, so I'm curious to check it out, and maybe I'll throw a review on here as well. But what did you think of Kiki's Delivery Service? Is it one of your favorite films, as it is one of mine? Let me know in the comment area down below. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.